Good day, everybody. AG outside. Um, I want to do a video on growing corn. This right here, varieties of peaches and cream. And this is my first time growing corn, even though I can't believe I hadn't grown it yet. Because growing up, we grew corn all the time. I just remember my father growing it. We put the automatic planter on the back of his tractor, and we plant a whole field full of corn. This was, like I say, my first year growing it. I wanted to kind of, a lot of times on AG outside, we show you start to finish. So right now we're right in the middle of growing the corn. But I did want to go over quickly some tips and the things that I learned growing this corn. For one, I started real early, and I recommend, anytime you can grow your summer garden, you can start in March or as soon as you can in the spring. I recommend doing it. Planted these probably mid March, and the weather was still kind of cool. Some of the sweet corn variety like peaches and cream, they will germinate pretty well in cool weather. Some corn, really need warm weather to germinate, but that's the one thing attractive to me about growing the hybrid sweet corns, because you can get an early start on growing them. But I'm gonna tell you, at first I thought when I planted these seeds, I planted them real tight. I planted them about 6 inches apart, thinking that they probably wouldn't all come up. And it took about 2 weeks for these things to start coming up, because I was thinking I was gonna have to start replanting. Plant corn that early in the spring. Just be patient. If you buy the treated seeds that are like red or that pink color, that treatment will protect them until they start coming up. So that gives you a little more assurance that you can just go ahead and leave them in the ground. And but it's like magic. I came out here one day and I just saw them all popping up. So I ended up having to come back and thin them out because I wanted to keep them about a foot apart. As you can tell, they're all about a foot apart. So as far as the fertilizer regimen, I did do a real aggressive fertilizer regimen. Let me let you see this right here. They wind pollinate each other, and that's a perfect example of how they do. You can see that powder coming off of them when the wind blows. I just thought that was a good chance to catch that process if you'll see it. If you can see the little powder coming off of them, you can just, that's amazing to catch that. And what they do, they pollinate these tassels here. And that's how they get wind pollen. That's why it's good to grow corn in a big block so they can get a real good pollination like that. But anyway, where was that? I want to go quickly over my fertilizer regimen. When I actually put about a teaspoon or about a tablespoon of triple 13 fertilizer in the hole with the corn, and not many vegetables you can do that with, but with corn it's so nitrogen hungry and it's such a hardy crop, it can actually handle fertilizer from the beginning. So once it starts forming that taproot, it'll have a little go down to that fertilizer and go ahead and ignite it. So when they got to be about 6 inches to a foot tall, I went back and I did a little trench along each row, and then I put in a high nitrogen fertilizer. I did 3300, and I just kind of side dressed it. I guess on average maybe about 2 tablespoons per plant if you could average it out. And then I just covered that trench back up. And then when they got about waist high, I did the same thing, but I was just a little bit more aggressive. And I was about 6 inches. I put my trench about 6 inches away from the plants, But I did another trench a little bit deeper, maybe about 3 inches deep, and maybe increased it to about 4 tablespoons per plant, if you want to kind of gauge it that way. But I just sprinkled a generous portion along there, and then I, covered the trench back up. And then we got them when they got, about this tall here, and they started to form the tassels at the top, and they started to put the silk out and start forming the actual corn. I went back and did another trench, and I put in a triple 10 fertilizer, and I felt like that would give them a little more nitrogen and would also give them some phosphorus and potassium to help with fruit development. So I don't plan on doing any more fertilizing. So we did do that. That was a fertilizer schedule we did, and it got us to this point. And I think so far we've been pretty successful, and I believe we're gonna have a pretty good corn harvest. So I'm gonna let you follow me the rest of the way though. So please subscribe to AG Outside. Please sit back, relax, watch us finish this process out. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna focus on pests. Now that they're starting to tassel out, we're actually gonna come out here and spray them for the that moth. You know, you see the corn worm at the top of the corn when you split them open. Well, that is a moth that lays a larvae on the top of that silk. So hopefully we're not too late. We're gonna spray them with a little bit of spinosad. Normally use about 4 tablespoons per gallon. So we cut that down to about 3. Cut it down just a little bit, and we're gonna lightly just spray the top of these tassels, and we're gonna kind of do that today, and we may do 2 or 3 more treatments of that, just lightly spraying them, just to kind of cut down or hopefully eliminate the worm that be at the top of the corn. But anyway, we're gonna get started on that. Thanks for watching. I'm just gonna kind of focus on those tassels and just do a real quick spray right around that tassel. Not too heavy, and that's all we're gonna do. We're gonna go through here and do that. We're gonna do, let it sit for a few days, and we're gonna do another quick spraying. Let it sit for a few days, do another quick spraying, and that should take us all of the way, hopefully. But anyway, we'll be back when it's time to harvest some corn. Thanks for watching. All right, y'all, we're gonna harvest some corn, and very excited about this because we know they're ready, and you can tell because the silk is turned black. So looking forward to a good harvest. So let's pull off a few and see how they look. Gonna twist them on. All right, the big reveal. All right, beautiful. No worm at the top, look like. So it look like our treatment worked. Beautiful. All right, let's harvest a few more. See how they look. Like I had a little worm infestation up top, but I don't see evidence of a worm, so they probably died after eating that spinosad. But that's okay. That's the good thing about that, using the tune with the spinosad. If you do have some worm infestation, you won't have a lot, and you can just cut the top of that off. But man, that's beautiful. Man, I'm so excited about this. We're gonna harvest one more, and we're gonna see how it looks, and then we're gonna finish up our off camera. Okay, we'll see how this one looks. Man, beautiful. Yep, no worm at the top. It's a beautiful full ear corn. Man, this was so much fun. Growing this corn. This is my first year doing it by myself. Like I said, I grew up with corn, and I don't remember it coming out this well. I think my father would be proud. But man, I really appreciate y'all for watching. Growing corn is very easy to do. If you just do a basic fertilizer regimen like we talked about, and it was pretty easy to grow. So we're gonna go ahead and finish. We got a lot of corn to harvest, so we're gonna, harvest it, freeze it, and man, I can't wait to eat it. I can tell it's gonna be wonderful. But anyway, I really appreciate y'all for watching. Please subscribe, give the video a thumbs up if you appreciated all the work we put into it, and man, have a great day.